Okay, so it's late October right now, and as you can see, we got plenty of leaves falling here. And I wanted to see if the Luba could do any better of a job with mulching leaves than the Husqvarna mowers that I had been trying to use for this job. Last year, I ran my Husqvarna 315X in this section of property to see if it can mulch the leaves there, and it did an okay job. But I had to do many runs of that mower over this yard, and because the yard is relatively small, it doesn't have to go that far before it turns around and goes to the other side of the yard. So it can do a lot of passes over the property and make enough passes to start really, grinding or cutting away at the leaves. For the Luba, as you can see, as you can hear, there's quite a lot of noise there. So it's coming into contact with the leaves. With these auto mowers or these robotic mowers, because they run using razor blades, they're not going to generate the kind of turbulence that you would get with a conventional lawnmower. And that turbulence on a normal lawnmower is going to sort of scoop up the leaves, swirl them around under the mower, and that's what's going to help them get cut more. On this, it's just whatever the blades run over, they're going to cut some of it. So what I like about the Luba is I can set it much lower, and or at least I can do that on this part of the property here, which is really a gravel driveway. I get a lot of leaves here, so if I can just have it mulch the leaves here, it can save me a bit of work. It's kind of doing okay. Like, this is just the first run that I tried, and obviously it's not getting everything, but you can see some leaves are kind of sort of getting cut up, so I can do any number of passes on this driver that I want, and I can just keep running it over and over, and eventually I think it'll do a good enough job to cover the back driveway in terms of mulching the leaves. And I can't really do that on the grass parts of the property, like over there or the backyard over there, because if you keep running the mower over grass, it's going to beat up the grass. Even if you set the mower blades high, just the mower itself trampling over the grass is going to ruin the grass surface. So this hopefully will save me a bit of work. Over this past season that I've been using it to just keep this section cut low in terms of the grass and weeds that do tend to grow on this supposedly gravel driveway, this has done a decent job. The only problem that I've had with it really is the way that the bump sensors are designed. So you see there's a front bumper here, so if it hits something from the front, it'll back away and go off and do something else. But if anything bumps into it from the top of the body, it's not going to realize that it's bumped into something. So if I have a car parked in this driveway and I forget to put a keep out zone around that car, this is going to try to drive under the car, and it's going to get stuck under the car. It's going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and the motors will overheat because there's no bump sensor at the top of the body. On the Husqvarna mowers, the body is mounted on a set of joysticks, so if any part of the body touches anything, the body moves, the joysticks move, and then because of that, the bump sensor will trigger more readily. So those are less likely to get stuck under something. This will get stuck under things if you're not careful. Now, to be fair, this is the Luba 1, it is not the Luba 2. The Luba 2 has a camera mounted on top, so presumably that camera will do a much better job at obstacle avoidance than the Luba 1. But if you have a Luba 1, just be mindful of that. This can get stuck under cars. So as far as the Luba 1 goes, I'd say that's kind of it. I haven't had to use it too much over the last month or two because we're in a part of the year where the grass and the weeds aren't really growing that much. So really I just wanted to keep it out for a bit longer to see if I can do anything with mulching the leaves on this part of the property. And so we'll see in a couple of weeks if I run it enough, if it does a good enough job to save me from having to work on all of this. And I can focus my efforts on the yard over there and the yard over here. Now, as for the Husqvarna 435X, their all-wheel drive auto mower that's parked right over there. This is the third season that I've been running that mower for. And really no complaints as far as day-to-day operation. I did get a new phone, and I think that made it a little bit easier for me to more accurately set keep out zones using the auto mower app. which is like it uses GPS based keep out zone definitions. I think the new phone helped a little bit with getting better spatial resolution for that. But still occasionally it gets stuck in certain areas, or it'll find itself inside the keep out zones because, I don't know, maybe it couldn't talk to a GPS satellite at that point in time, and it's still running blind. It's just going back and forth between all the different boundaries you set with the boundary wire. So there are times where you'll set a keep out zone and it'll still drive in there. So I don't know why it does that. Again, maybe there's some like gap in communication with the satellites, where it doesn't actually realize where it is and it just keeps driving. It's a possibility. So just watch out for that. The other thing that I've noticed, and this is over 3 seasons, by the way, not one particular season, the edges of the yard are seeing a lot of wear. Now it's maybe hard to see this because it's covered in leaves, but you see there's a lot of dirt there and not much grass. And if I go up along the boundary of the yard, like around here, and maybe if I go up here where the leaves haven't fallen quite as much, it's more obvious all around here, and especially like where these roots are, getting more uncovered. And along the edge here, I have the boundary wire running along this section here. These roots are getting more uncovered, more of the dirt is getting sort of kicked up or pushed aside just over time as the mower runs up to that boundary and goes back. And it seems like it goes up and back. It's trampling the boundary section of the yard more than it tramples over the yard itself. Combine that with the fact that these sections of property are more shaded, there's less grass growth. Oh, there's a piece of broken glass there. And so the grass isn't going to recover as much on these edges of the property. So if you have property like this, be prepared to see sort of a band show up around the edge of the property where you see more sort of compression or wear of the lawn due to the automower. And I see that on this property especially. But in the center of the yard, it's fine. But it's just really around the edge. And that's over a couple of seasons. And then obviously there are other sections of yard where, and I mentioned this before, if it's a little hilly and the body of the automower kind of bumps into the hills a little bit, it's going to dig in. There's this section here where this used to be all dirt. And because of the way the rain falls and washes away and it flows downhill, combine that with how the mower tries to run up this surface, it kind of sort of digs up a little bit of that dirt each time. Basically there's nothing left there, and it's all just whatever rocks were mixed in with the dirt are getting exposed as the dirt gets washed away. So you're going to have sections like this occasionally showing up on the property. I also have a big one over here, and I think this was also because of the automower. This whole divot got kind of dug out, if you will. And this is over the last maybe 2 seasons that this happened. So I'd still say that it's a minor price to pay for having a robotic mower, because yeah, I'm gonna have to go and try to fill this in and reseed it. But that's given the amount of time the mower saves me, I don't care. Like I'll take this over having to cut the lawn every weekend in the middle of the summer. But it is kind of a pain. And by the way, this is not a beautiful yard. Like the ground here is rough. It's full of rocks. I got weeds everywhere. It's just a lawn that I needed to get cut, basically. But there are sections that do look pretty nice. And like over here, it's, looks decent. And the mower hasn't really beaten it up that much. But that doesn't, just because you have one of these things, doesn't mean your entire lawn is going to be perfectly, healthy, let's say. It will trample over certain areas, and you won't have much or any grass growth in those regions over time. So that's parked right now for the season, because I did try running this last fall to mulch the leaves in the yard here, and because of the way it runs over the yard, it did more damage to the grass just compressing it down than it did anything with actually mulching leaves. So that I'm going to put away very soon. I actually set up the Luba to sort of do a path over here in the backyard to see if it can maybe mulch some leaves back here and save me a bit more trouble. But right now I'm testing it on the back driveway over there, and it seems to do a better job, partly because it has 2 discs, each with 4 blades on them, so you're getting more razor blades acting on the grass or the leaves themselves. So for a given run, you're going to have more passes of a blade over a leaf cutting it. And I can make it run really slow. Like in the settings for the Luba, when you define what yard area you want to work on, you can make it go super slow like what it's doing right now. And you can do multiple passes, whatever. So I think this will do a better job at mulching than that, but it's still not going to use turbulence to pick the leaves up. It has to pass over the leaves. So you need a thick enough pile of leaves for it to actually interfere with the blades, so the blades have something to cut. So it'll probably reduce my workload, but it won't eliminate it entirely. Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching.